Here we are at Barnacles, our favorite spot on the Jersey Shore. Because this was this way?
Yep.
Okay. This was one that was taken at your parents' house before it was New Year's Eve. And we were going out on New Year's Eve. And if I remember the New Year's Eve correctly, I'm trying to think. This was at the house on Hillcrest. And we were going out for New Year's Eve because we always did New Year's Eve with your family. Forever, it seemed like years and years and years. We used to go to the Ridgewood Country Club. We would go to, remember the hotel we used to go to up in Woodcliff Lakes?
Yep.
So I remember that. So this is one of our New Year's Eve, and the four of us were going out as usual. And of course, your mom helped Frank buy the dress that I was wearing. And I remember you liked the dress because it had rhinestones on it, and I remember you were at that time, you liked things that were sparkling.
Oh, yes. Some things don't change.
Yes, it surely was. So that was one of the pictures, and that was one place that we were going out, again to eat. And then this picture was at a restaurant in the city. Up more? Is that okay?
That's good.
And this was at a restaurant in the city that we had met your mom and dad, which we did often. If they were going in, they would give us a call and say we're going to go in, or we would go and meet, and we'd have a great time as usual at a restaurant, and then going out for drinks afterwards and having a lot of fun. It was a lot of good times that the four of us had. That's, I think, the thing I think most about your parents, and that their marriage was one that was built on love and trust and respect for one another, and I think that that's what our relationship was all built on too. They were always there for me and for Frank, and I know that Frank and I would always be there for them whenever we could. I even remember the day you had your surgery, when you were just a little tiny toddler, and your mom called that morning and said, "Oh, could I please come up and be with him?" And I said, "Okay," and I ran up, and I told Frank he was on his own for the whole day, and oh, he went to work, but he was on his own. I said, "Well, I'm coming back, but you're going to have to make your own dinner," which he did. But I remember that day with them. It was a very trying day, obviously, but you were a little trooper. I can remember you going off to your surgery, waving in the little crib. Your mom and dad have something very special, and I hope that all people that are married have that special relationship where they really love and respect one another.
I feel good about my parents.
Oh, yeah, they have some things that not many people, when you look at marriages today, not all of them have that. But your mom and dad do. And they've been through good times and bad times, but they're still together. And they're still there for one another. Meeting your mom had the wonderful opportunity of becoming part of our science department. She was put on the science floor, and she became our unofficial science member. Her little room was right next to mine. She was a special ed teacher in this little tiny room, and she had more of a self-contained class, and I taught science in a room next door. So we kind of started talking, and we formed a good friendship, I think. Well, it's one that's been over many, many years. And your mom became part of the department, and the department usually had many parties. And that's how we met your dad, through one of those parties. And the thing that was strange was that your dad and Frank, who were two very diverse people, if you were to look at them separately, but they had a lot of things in common. They liked the same singers, and they had a lot of things that they got along with. And the four of us then became very good friends, which is something that I have to say, Bob and Julie were friends for both of us. It wasn't my friend that Frank happened to like, or his friend that I happened to like, but they were our friends, and the four of us did many, many things together. I can remember that when you were little, all three of your children were little, they would always rent a house at the shore, and we'd come down at least one time while you were there and spend the day on the beach, although Frank was not a big beach person. He suffered through the beach, but we would go out to dinner afterwards and have a lot of fun. And we always enjoyed not just Bob and Julie, but the children too. And I actually feel that we're part of the family, even though we're not really part of the family, but unofficially we're family members.
Yes, you are. Can you talk about some of the best evenings out you've had with my parents?
I think we had, well, they were always good. We always had fun. We always had a good time. And we always enjoyed the company of your mom and dad. One was your mom's birthday, that your Uncle Art rented the big stretch limo and took all of us to the River Cafe, which to this day I think is Frank's favorite restaurant, and that was something your dad introduced us to, and it just had opened a little bit, and your dad said it was a wonderful restaurant, so we all went, of course, to dinner, and at that time there were 6 of us going out, but we all went out and had a great time, and it was one of Frank's favorite restaurants, and I know it was one of your mom's, so that birthday was really special. And
40th, right?
Yeah, that was the 40th, and we had a great time, and it was a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I know that's the time your Uncle Art ripped up our credit card, but we had a great time, and then another one that was really, really special was when we met your mom and dad in New York, and we went to the Russian Samurai, and that was a special night. It was one that we all kind of shared a lot of things, and I think all of our whole relationship was talked about during that night. That was a special night, too. And fortunately for Frank and I, we were staying in the city, so it didn't matter that we were drinking. We could just kind of walk to the hotel. And I know your mom and dad took public transportation, so they could just kind of walk back to the transportation. So we had it was one of those nights that was kind of, it stays in my memory very much.
Do you remember what year that was?
Yes, I do. That was, we went in the spring, and that was 2003.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if we can go back in time a little bit, can you tell me about when my parents told you that they were pregnant?
Well, I can remember all the times that they told me that they were pregnant. And one of the things that sticks in my mind is how happy they were with each one of them. They were thrilled, and I know that your mom felt very strong about the times, and so did your dad, that they were special times for them, and they wanted to share. And each time was special for them. But I think the funniest one was when she was pregnant with Bobby. And they called and they said they had something special to tell us. And we said, oh, okay. And well, we're coming down, we'll go out to dinner, and we don't have to worry because the children are with their grandmom, and we can go any place. And I said, well, unfortunately we can't go just any place because I was babysitting for my nephew, Michael. So we had to end up going to a child's restaurant and watch cartoons and deal with all the little kids that were running around. But each time was special because your mom and dad, both of them, were very, very happy, joyful, and the birth of all 3 of their children was something that was important to them.
Can you share what you were telling me before about my dad and what he described it was like for my mom being pregnant?
Oh, okay. Just that I know that your dad said even though your mom was just found out she was pregnant, so it wasn't something that she had really gone along for several months. But the minute she found out and she started to feel the changes, she felt a closeness to all of her children. And that was a special time for her and for him because it really was the beginning of something new for them. Mm-hmm. And that was important for them.
Can you talk about what you remember about my parents' first house in Middletown?
Well, as I told you, I don't remember a whole lot about your first house. Their first house, I do remember it being very nice. It was over by Thompson School on Dwight Road, I believe, and I thought it was a lovely house. I know that the location in Middletown made it hard for your dad to get back and forth to work, so when your mom came in one day at school and told me that they were moving to Ridgewood, I thought, oh my goodness, they're going to be gone. But I thought, oh, we won't see much of them. But actually, I think we saw just about as much of them as we could. And we had special times, and it was something that all 4 of us did. But I do remember thinking your mom's house in Middletown was lovely, and the one in Ridgewood was lovely, too. But I remember your grandmom saying, there's a little dollhouse in the one in Middletown. And I thought, wow, that was some dollhouse.
Okay. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you wanted to share about my parents and 40 years of marriage?
Your parents and 40 years of marriage should be very happy. You're together. Not many people stay together that long, but it's a wonderful thing when you're with the right person. And they are both very fortunate to still be together and to love one another and to have that person there for them. And I know they've gone through good times and bad times, as all of us have, but it's something that you're there, and I treasure their friendship. Not just one, but both of their friendships. As a couple, they're wonderful, and I wish them the best. Another wonderful 40 years.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds good to me. We'll do this again in 40 years.